I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's Wednesday, April 10th, and the time is about 5:15. So welcome. And we need to do roll call since we do not have everybody here. So Liz Cobbs.
Hi, I'm here on Zoom.
Kate Ryan.
Yes, here.
And Josh Fay. I'm here. And Bill Moracek here. So we have 4 of our 5 folks who are here with us this evening. We have approval of the minutes, and
I'm not sure if we have all sets in there. Those are the ones that we've had meetings for. I think there might be 1, maybe 2 sets in there. And I guess while we're on that subject, is somebody minuting for us tonight too, just to make sure. I can do.
okay, thank you.
I volunteer. Yeah, I did it.
Well, I have to say, it's
Oh, yeah, no, this is temporary.
it's
Oh, my goodness.
Repetitive strain.
there's I did the February 21st minutes, and I have to say, it's really important to have a Zoom video because there's so much that goes along that it's very difficult to capture.
Yeah.
So anyway, Josh, this will be an opportunity for you in the future.
I understand. I'll be ready.
He brought his laptop this time, so
Yeah.
that's good.
That should be the same. Well, okay, so I know we had the February 21st minutes because those are the ones that I was responsible for. Any comments or questions or? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of February 21st.
So moved.
Second?
I second.
Okay, we got this with Josh.
Liz, I wasn't present for that meeting, so I can't.
Oh, okay, good one. Yeah, that's a good one. I forgot about that. All right.
But I second. They were very well done, Bill.
Well, you're very kind, since you're the one who got the gold star as the minute taker. Being the minute taker as one goes along that's a real skill. So anyway, so all in favor, Liz Cobbs,
Aye.
Ryan,
Yes.
Bill Moracek, yes. All right, now are the minutes are the other 2 in the packet or?
No, I think it was only, I just checked my packet, it's only February 21st, I'm not sure who was responsible for drafting the second, and.
Joe sent a draft, didn't he, of of the March meeting minutes? Not?
Must have done the second, because I know you weren't here last time.
No, I wasn't here.
So you might have done the ones for the second,
I thought
so
it
we'll push those to the next meeting and hopefully hunt those down, and maybe we'll have, today's minutes to add as well.
I'll look through it because I'm pretty sure I saw Joe sent them like the night of the last meeting, March 13th.
And it might be that he did and I missed them and I didn't get them
Okay.
Magnolia, which means that we'll get into the packet, because if they don't get to Magnolia, it doesn't happen.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll look through and send to you, Jess, if maybe he only sent them to me. I don't know. Bill, didn't you say? I thought we were all on it, but I don't know. I'll look, and if I have something and I should have sent it, I'll send it along. Okay.
Thank you for thank you for looking for those. I just wanted to confirm that I don't know if I know what the trigger is to get the minutes into the personnel board webpage, acknowledging that we have the minutes.
Yeah, so basically, once they're voted, a lot of times there's amendments to them. So assuming there's amendments, somebody, whether it's the person that took the minutes, somebody just makes the edits, gets them back, and then we can post them as voted onto our page. And we also are technically supposed to file a copy on card as well.
Well, I'm wondering if you could just peruse the page where we have the date of the meeting, we have agendas indicated, but I may have not looked at the right page, but there seem to be several meetings that we don't have minutes recognized in the as being voted upon, approved in the page.
Okay, we can get those up there.
All right, so I think we're ready for the Assistant Town Manager, Interim Human Resources Director's report.
So I know you've got in your packets the spreadsheet that we've been giving you about terms, hires, et cetera, for year to date. That should be pretty straightforward. In terms of activities in our department, as with I feel like every meeting, we'll be getting into the job descriptions, et cetera, that Kimberly and Magnolia have been heading up. We've been very busy working on our health insurance conversion. We have been moving everybody from our current plan offerings with Minuteman to Shogo, which is dissolving on June 30th, and getting them all moved over to the Maya Blue Cross Blue Shield plans. So that's been a pretty extensive effort, all hands on deck. We're moving in a good direction, hopefully. And that's pretty much been the bulk of my efforts. Again, the biggest project-based things have been with Kimberly, so I'm happy to let Kimberly give an update on where we are at with that as it does relate to our subsequent agenda items.
Good evening, everyone. I have before you this evening on tonight's agenda 31 job descriptions that are part of the July 2023 implementation. I'm happy to report that there are no changes to contents of the jobs, pay grades, or any changes to the structure of the plan. Though we do have 3 before you tonight where we are looking to make adjustments on their title. So it is title
Kimberly,
only.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I just got a text from Mark Howell. Jess, he's trying to join.
He's
I got in. Thank you.
Oh, you are? Okay, sorry. I didn't see you, Mark.
Was up, Mark. That's why I saw you after I finished my blurb.
Okay, are we ready
Back
to move on? Okay.
Yeah, sorry,
Um,
Kimberly.
That's quite all right. The 3 that I have before you this evening that are simple changes to title are all from the facilities division of our public works area. And what we've done with these is adjusted the title to make the title most prominent for the trade that position represents. So for example, we had one previously that was titled HVAC Tech / Master Plumber. It's our desire to make that the Master Plumber / HVAC Tech. Similarly, we had one that was Crew Leader / Electrician and Carpenter. And you can imagine in posting a job with a title like that, it might be a little confusing as to what the primary import of the job is. And so the recommendation tonight is to change that to Master Electrician / Crew Leader. And then we had a position called Facilities Maintainer / Skilled Carpenter. And we're recommending that just be called Skilled Carpenter. And I'd like to introduce you this evening to Russ Carlstad, who's with us on the Zoom. And Russ is our new facilities manager. He's been with us several months now, and it's been delightful working with him on these job descriptions and helping him get his division in order. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those with Russ's help.
Kimberly, the only, I only had one question, and that had to do with, when I'm looking at the class and comp table, the chart, it's the grades. And I was just trying to, in the past, we had facilities director.
Yes.
That was a grade 15. So then this proposal is to make it a manager. So could you just explain what was the rationale to make this position at grade 15 a manager and not a director?
Yes, I'd be happy to take that on. That actual change was approved several months ago by the board. And the desire at that time, we had Alan Cathcart with us that evening, I believe, and who is the Public Works Director. And you may recall that the facilities director at one time reported into the townhouse, into the town manager's office, or into the chief financial officer.
Right.
And so it was structured somewhat differently. The duties have not changed at all. However, the position has been moved under Public Works, where all of its peers who are of a similar pay grade have a title of either manager or superintendent. And so we simply recommended that the title be changed to manager to make it most consistent with
Okay.
its own department.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or
Yeah,
comments?
just a more general one. I just wanted to say, Russell, welcome, and we're very glad to meet you. And if you have any comments or thoughts about settling into your new position, is there anything you would like us to understand?
No, thanks for having me. Very happy to be in Concord. It's a very uplifting place to work. And so I'm glad I got the nod. Just been going through some housekeeping changes with Kimberly and getting that all done and looking towards the future and hoping for good things.
Terrific.
It is nice to have you on board and nice to be able to have you join us for this review tonight. Okay, any other?
If I could just make one other announcement that is outside of the facilities discussion that we just had. I do have one other position in, oh, before I leave that, forgive me. For the 3 positions whose titles are changing, I want to make sure that we make an edit to these 3 job descriptions because our intention, because their titles are changing with your approval tonight, assuming there's approval, they really should be dated as April of 2024 and not July of 2023. And I believe some of those edits, I failed to make some of those edits. So I want to put that into the record so that we can acknowledge those title changes as of April, should they be approved this evening. And then one additional announcement before you tonight on page 75 of the packet. I have the power supply and rates administrator. You all approved this a number of months ago, but there was a scrivener's error on it. It was listed as pay grade 14 and it should have been light plant or LP-14. And so I need to put in the record this evening to correct the scrivener's error on that.
Okay. Thank
And that
you.
concludes
All
my
right, thank you, Kimberly. Any other comments, questions? All right, why don't we entertain, and I think what we've done is to approve these as amended. And
Bill,
that,
I'm
Yes.
sorry. Just before we move on, I did get a chance to look at all of them, and I just had some general questions. So I wanted to
please.
ask for that clarification, if that's all right, before we approve, because we're going to approve the whole group together. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes, and there's
Yeah.
one more too, Liz. I don't know if you saw it in your email, because I literally sent it out maybe 45 minutes or an hour ago.
Oh,
But
no, I didn't.
the assistant HR director, this is one that wasn't updated when we did the big update for the generalists and basically every other position within HR. So this is just a refresh and update from one that I believe was from 2016. No change to the grade or anything, but just some tweaks and some shifting of things around. But this one, I wanted to sneak in at the 11th hour, so that will be part of hopefully our positive vote this evening.
Jessica, I'm looking at my email. I don't see anything coming in this afternoon. Could you shoot that over to me again? Since you guys are in the room, you can see it, but
Oh, I sent it to Liz Rourke, not Liz Cobbs. That explains it.
I'm sure she's going to approve too, but.
Well,
All right, well, listen, I just have a general couple of questions. So while you're doing that, Jess, so public health director. And I think we did, I can't remember the exact details, but I think, isn't there a shared nurse across a couple of towns? And how do those 2 positions relate to one another? Kimberly?
The public health nurse reports into the public health director.
Okay,
Yeah. And that position is shared between two towns. I believe the other town is Maynard, if I recall correctly. Yeah.
okay. Okay, and so, yeah, so that oversight strategy would be with the director.
Correct.
Okay. And let's see, there was, I just wanted more clarification. So there was a new or revised job description on a business manager, and then also senior financial analyst, and then a management analyst. If I understood correctly, the business manager sits under the management analyst. Is that incorrect?
Yeah, yes, forgive me. The business manager is within the Public Works Department,
Okay,
and that position reports directly to the Public Works Director, if I recall correctly. And the management analyst, I believe, reports into the business manager. And
oh,
there may be two management, are there two management analysts in tonight or just one? Forgive me.
I'm looking at my packet too, Kimberly, because I can't remember.
It's a financial analyst, which is different.
That's the one that's in treasury. I
Right,
think.
the financial analyst is actually in the finance department. It works on budget as well as other things.
okay, and then the management analyst sits under the business manager.
Correct.
Okay.
In
alright.
Public Works. Mhm.
In Public Works, okay, and so in both of those, or all three of those descriptions, they're really working on budgets, which understanding budgets are very complicated, you need more than one person, but how do those two, so we have in a department positions on budget and then over department position? And how do they work together, I guess?
Yes, Liz, the business manager has some primary functions around the budget. You can imagine in a Public Works department, there are a number of different funds at play. So there are, some of the expenses are of a general fund, some are of an enterprise fund, and some use special taxation type funds. And forgive me, I know there are probably those on the meeting who know more about this than I do, but I'm going to do my best to describe it. And so there are some complications within a department like Public Works that make it necessary to have a person that's focused in those areas. But not only is that position working on budgets, but ongoing issues with regards to the business. That group does utility billing and accepts payments, I believe. And so there's a whole lot of financial transactions moving in multiple directions that person is responsible for, just skimming the businessman or the management analyst role that reports into the business manager. You can see they're a point of contact with all the utilities customer service group, so
Okay.
that they're maintaining what's happening with the monies that are coming in as well. And then the position in finance is more focused on across the town budgeting, not just for
Okay.
Public Works.
Got it.
So all of that, and just also to add to that, there's the facilities piece that falls under Public Works. So, I mean, Public Works facilities, given that that's now all merged under the umbrella of Public Works, I believe that also is part of the need and the reason we have that position as well, because obviously facilities has a multitude of, invoices, bills, projects, things like that.
Okay. That helps me understand things better. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions? Well, certainly, Kimberly and Jess, there is, and many of the managers and directors in the town have spent a lot of time working on these job descriptions. I think many times for the uninitiated, job descriptions are just a bunch of words on a piece of paper, but they have so much significance in many different areas in an organization. A town is a part of that. So it's really, hats off to those individuals in the town in the departments who had participated in this effort. You know, it's more than just Jess and Kimberly, even though those two individuals have had primary leadership role. But I just want to, the minutes can reflect the fact that the Personnel Board does appreciate the collaborative nature of how this whole job description effort is proceeding. We're not quite at the finish line yet, but sounds like we're getting closer all the time. So.
Yeah, Kimberly and Magnolia are machines. It's amazing, actually. I think they're both getting a little worn out from it, but it's the home stretch. They're almost there.
Well, I'm gonna look for a machine description. Anyway, okay. I think we can proceed with a vote.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we pass the, and could we, I know I had the number of them wrong at one point. So how many are we looking at tonight?
There would be a total of 32, 31 in the original packet, and then the one additional.
Okay, and just you sent me that one? Oh, yeah,
Yes.
I got it.
Yeah, sorry. It went to
That's
Lisa.
okay. I'll skim it, but I'll in this meeting, I'll come back if I have any questions on it. Okay, so we can capture it. But otherwise, I'll make a motion, given that caveat, to pass the 32 job descriptions with a big thank you to Kimberly and Magnolia for doing all that work.
All right, is there a second?
Sorry, should we add the note, the amendment on the date on the, I think there was a 2004, or sorry, April 2024 versus July?
Yeah,
Versus-
that,
yeah.
yes. So, and with the amendment that I'll read Assistant Human Resources Director, and there is an amendment sorry, so as I was skimming through, as you said that, Kimberly, was it for all positions or just the ones with the new titles? The three with the titles?
Just the 3 in facilities with the new titles. Yes.
Okay, and those will be updated from July 2023 to reflect April 2024 as
Correct.
per our discussion. You got all that, Josh?
I did mostly get it, although I'm not.
Well, I'm doing minutes.
Oh, you're doing it. Oh,
I'll
sorry,
get back.
Kate. I thought it was Josh.
But yes, and I'll second that motion.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. So all in favor, Josh Payne,
Yes, in
and
favor.
then Liz Cobbs,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes,
and Bill Marachek, yes. Okay. I wanted to make one note about the benefits project that is underway. I think I'd like to be able, and not now, tonight, but I'd like maybe at the next meeting to see what the comparison is between, costs to the town for last year versus this year, overall, and maybe you can just divide by the number of employees. I'd be interested to know how many are retiree participating in this versus regular employees. And perhaps, just a quick summary of what the major differences are. It's a different network. It's a different provider for sure. Yes, but there may be also some other details. But I think as a personnel board, we should be cognizant of what the details are here and understand what, I'm going to say costs and what is different for employees. Because these are all, benefits are such a critical part of decision-making for why prospective candidates come to join an organization or a town and so forth. So I think, I don't want to overtax the detail here, but I do think that we should spend just a little time.
Yeah, I can definitely put
yeah,
together
going
some
over
sort of a packet, and I think it does make sense, given that so much of the feedback in the task force study, targeted a lot of things with regard to benefits, costs, offerings, all kinds. So I think it is
Okay,
really
good,
for this group
good,
just to
good.
take a peek, so you're understanding.
Exactly,
it,
yeah,
so,
I mean, you're doing all of the heavy lifting in terms of all of the contacts of people, and you've already made decisions regarding which, but I think we, in an oversight capacity, can certainly, look to see what you've done, what, you may have questions about the impact of some of these decisions. But I think the details here would be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And then it will make a lot more sense, I think, when you get that full big picture, when I, at some point, hopefully bring forward a
Right.
benefits manager or coordinator description role as it'll make sense. Because that is something I think we are a little bit in the void here with. I was surprised coming here that we don't have that. I've seen you guys probably have one. Every other town I've worked in has either a coordinator or manager, somebody that just focuses on all the benefits, and we don't have that here. So I think we can figure out a way to get to that point without hopefully increasing FTE counts.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll see.
Okay,
Can I
Yes,
was
please.
just curious, I thought, part of what GovHR was doing in the study that they did was to look at benefits and try and do some sort of comparison study. Is that still happening, or was that not?
I don't think
Or
that
am I
was part of the
remembering
scope, was it,
wrong?
Kimberly? I thought it was just for the job description.
Oh,
I'm not aware of any follow-on benefits work that GovHR was asked to do.
no, it may be, it may
was the
be,
original RFP or something.
there was
Maybe
something,
it was an add-on service.
Yeah.
to-
and then I think it became an add-on, and
Yeah.
then because probably the funding
Yeah.
restrictions of, that particular piece was not.
I do remember, Kate, the same discussion, and I do think it became an add-on that we were not clear we would get to,
Yeah.
and obviously we haven't. But yeah, but it might be just, or Kimberly, it might be a good idea to go back to GovHR and see, because my recollection is, and it could be foggy, but it was that there was a lot of data that they, and information that they had quite readily available. And it wouldn't have been a new study that they did. I could be wrong though, because those things go out of date relatively quickly, right?
Especially benefits, they're always
Yeah.
changing. It's like,
Well, and this may be, I don't know, do all towns go through the same calendar cutoff for a new plan year? Is that the same?
Pretty
Yeah,
similar.
pretty much every fiscal year.
So-
Usually you renew and then, they tell you the increase. Some people are
Mhm.
fully insured, some people are self-insured, some people have a health insurance trust if they're self-insured. There's a lot of different models, but process is the same. And then towns sometimes will do full conversions. Like we did a full conversion at GIC when I was in Bedford. People, and I think there's 8 or 9 towns that are part of Minuteman Neshoba that are now all migrating. I believe all, maybe one are going us to the Maya models, Blue Cross. So yeah, I mean, the idea is to always kind of keep your eyes open for, rates and plans and things like that, but
That's why perhaps some of the data that GovHR has wouldn't actually be
Yeah.
relevant because of the cutoff to a new plan.
right.
But I still think I think we should at least find out
Oh, sure.
what do they have?
Yeah,
Maybe not for purposes right now, but for future consideration.
absolutely. Yep, I can put something together.
Okay, so we're ready for the item number 5 on the agenda is the town meeting presentation preparation.
Yes, Liz, I had messaged you, we had talked about having some draft slides for town meeting put together, but I know you've been, in Tampa.
Yeah, I was so overwhelmed. I'm so sorry. I did not get to that, but I thought I looked what you put together, Jess, and it's very good background. And I do have those slides. So, tomorrow I'll have a little more energy and time, and I'll
I figured
try to
that's
do
the
that.
thing. I was like, yeah, she's in campaign mode, so I didn't know if we have it on the agenda, so I didn't know if you wanted to get any input, or if you want the board here to decide if they just want you to kind of run with putting it together and work with me, or if you wanted to work again with Bill. I mean, obviously the public hearing was a good dry run for what you.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I'd like to hear from our team here is any advice. I mean, the public hearing, as you say, Jess, there were certain questions that came up that I think we should address in the slides. I feel pretty good. I remember what those points were. And then so another reason I think for this discussion, to have a little bit of a discussion here, is that if I understand correctly, they've decided not to put them on the consent calendar, all three. Is that right?
That's the latest I've heard. Yes, we're expected to present.
Okay.
Well, specifically not expected to present unless you wanted to punt it to Bill or to me or to someone else. But you did such a good job at the public hearing, so.
Well, thank you. I'm fine to do it, and I'll be back, and I will not be jet lagged because the week before I'll be out of town, but I'll be over jet lagged by then. So I'm fine to do it, and I would love to get the slides. Like, maybe what we could do is, I'll send Jess you something, and then you send them around and see if we captured everything. But oh, hi, Mark. You have your hand up. Do you have a comment there?
Yeah, I just thought I'd maybe comment on the rationale there when we had the discussion about why to put it on to not put it on the consent calendar. And that is, we're about to ask town meeting to ratify a new personnel bylaw. And even though the classification actions and plan are often routine for town meeting to have done over the years, we thought that it made sense in that context to familiarize whoever's actually there that night with what the routine actions have been, and because the new bylaw obviously proposes that be handled differently in the future. And so what we were thinking was it made sense to do that. And just to help you out a little bit, just because it doesn't always have to be only one person speaking for a committee. So if somebody else wants an opportunity to do some presenting, that's also an option. But that was what we were thinking out there.
Thank you, Mark.
Everybody's jumping to it, I can see.
Yeah, I could just if I want to start a food fight, I guess.
Well,
I am delighted to have someone else get up there, but
we don't have to make that decision right now, so.
Right, but that's anyway. So it's appreciated that if you can take the time in that and really think about it in those ways. This is the routine action we've been taking. This is what it looks like year after year, and then when the new bylaw comes up, maybe talk briefly about that. And just in terms of planning, even if you're not ready now, I think the the moderator's meeting where you have to come up and say how much time you want for these is coming up Friday, is it, Jessica?
Yes.
Yeah.
oh, it's Friday this week?
Yeah, but the slides aren't due. Let me just double check my calendar here. I know our final slide deck is due, I think, by the 18th. But yeah, we have a coordination meeting this Friday, which I assume is SMT members, but I look to see actually I can't see who the invite went to.
And where's that going to be held?
The townhouse.
Yeah, and anybody that's there can talk to it. You don't have to be ready to say.
My professor is retiring, and there's a big celebration for her that I have to be at all Friday afternoon, so I won't be able to attend the hearing or the moderators meeting.
I mean, I'll be there, so I'll be able to report back too. And again, I'm not sure who, because this is my first year through town meeting here, I'm not even sure who gets invited to this. If it's anybody that is going to be presenting or expected to present, or if it just went to SMT, like I don't even know who gets this. So, because I can't see, because I didn't set it up, I don't know who's on the list. So,
Well,
Mark, do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, I do. So it's 9 to 10:30 in the morning on Friday, at least the way it shows up on the calendar. And normally it can be anybody who, either the staff person that supports a committee, or the committee chairperson, or really anybody that's sort of empowered to talk about a specific article. So the normal format of the meeting is to go down through the articles and tell the moderator how much time you want, and to some extent receive some feedback from the moderator about whether or not they think you might be able to usually do it in something less than what you what you're asking for, because they're trying to think through how, how the meeting's going to flow and how long things are going to take.
So if it's 9 to 10:30 and done by then, I can go. And Jess, if you're there anyway, that's fine. That would be great. We'd both kind of tag team there. And that means that's a real goal to have a draft of slides by then anyway. So they would have a chance to see and say, oh yeah, okay, that
You
many
don't have to-
slides.
You don't have to show it. You just have to say,
Yeah.
my presentation is likely to run 3 minutes or,
Okay.
4 minutes or something like that. And it is a hybrid meeting, so, you can either be in the select board room or on Zoom.
Yeah,
Okay.
I sent it first to Bill when you thought you couldn't be there, and then I've also now just sent it to you, so you both got it. It just didn't go together, so you both should have the meeting invite. So I would think 5 to 10 minutes tops, I would think. I'm trying to remember how long you spoke at the public hearing, but then that plus just addressing those couple points we want to touch on, which my recollection is it had to do with, budget and what we vote here, how does this go to the budget, and that, I don't want to say confusion, but that crossover is one thing I definitely think we need to clarify. And I know I had a few other things on my notes as well from when I spoke with Carrie the other day, so. But yeah, and I'm happy to look at slides, even if it's over the weekend, Liz, like whatever, because we have Monday off, so, but I'll be trolling and doing some work over the long weekend, so.
This thing is, sorry, I'm looking at what you sent, Jess. It's Friday the 12th, this Friday. Okay. So I'm not going to be able to do anything tonight, but I'll have some time tomorrow morning. So Jess, I'll be in touch with you. And unless Bill, I'm being too forward and you want to jump in, but
I think I will try to be there on Friday.
Okay.
But I think you're gonna need to, you and Jess need to come up with sort of
Yeah,
the initial thoughts here.
and it is the 18th, that the slides
I
are
know.
due, so we have
Yeah. So honestly, I think, if I can make a real push tomorrow morning, Jess, and I'll send that to you and then CC you, Bill. And so we'll be on the same page. And then I can surely get at least the time frame, Marcus, you described, and for Friday morning, because with the draft, we'll say like, yeah, we can walk through these and see how long they'll take and so forth. That's easier, especially because with the 18th is just next Wednesday, right?
Thursday.
So
Yeah.
is it Thursday? But yeah,
No, April's already motoring by.
no, so true.
Okay, any other questions, comments about?
No, and I think you had in the slides, I'm just getting back to the slides, you had the list of all the new things since we put in the articles, right? I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to those. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. You have the classification actions, right? And yeah. So all right. So Jess, if you have time tomorrow morning, we can, be flexible and just go back and forth on email if that's easier.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we'll take the draft from the hearing as the first step and then pull it together.
Okay, yeah, I can make myself available. I do have to be out at Neshoba Brook School for 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Or just some very smart kids. And yeah, afternoon after that, I'm pretty much wide open all afternoon. So we'll get it together.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you all. Let's move to article or agenda item number 6. Will the personnel board continue to approve each job description that was included in the July 1st, 2023 classification and comp plan?
So Kate, if I remember correctly, this was something you had brought up and we had on the last agenda, but then of course you couldn't be here, so we didn't want to talk about it without you. So I think they sort of tie in, it ties into 7 as well. They sort of go together, so. But it makes sense to have Kate get some of this discussion off and then
Yeah, I think we've talked about it in the past. I'm just curious whether or not, and we can sort of decide as a board, and I'm happy for input on whether or not we need to approve each individual job description when we are already approving the entire plan, which includes the title and the grade. I'm happy to review job descriptions, but I feel like that's really is more your area of expertise than what we would bring to the table. So I'm happy to have a conversation.
I think, I think the town, sorry, the town's management, and there's this, in place, there's the process of the town manager reviewing the job descriptions that are prepared. And that particular process seems like it is more than adequate, going forward. And that would mean that there really isn't, I can't think of a significant value add for why the personnel board would have would make any real contribution, because we don't have the in-depth knowledge of what these jobs are.
I mean, I will say that I agree with that. And also I think it might make sense because if we create a new position, kind of like the one I talked about earlier about benefits managers, that one is one in my mind you'd want to look at and review because you want to understand how it's being added, where it goes within the pay plan, the JAQs or the scoring and all of that. But yeah, ones like the ones we're doing now, like in theory, this has already been voted, looked at. It's in a pay plan, in a grade, like it's not being proposed to change. It's pretty routine. So a lot of times too, you'll just change language or you might move a duty from one position in a department to another one, but it's not a significant change either way to increase or decrease the pay grade.
I was gonna ask, just pardon my ignorance, as I don't have background on the project really, what is the process that's currently happening? I mean, we're just revising existing, but is that what Kimberly's mainly doing, is revising existing
Yes.
to comport with however we've slotted them into the grades?
That and just really even just looking at duties and Kimberly, feel free to chime in, but job descriptions should be looked at, I don't want to say frequently, but more than like once every 25 years. Some of these are pretty old.
Yeah.
And I know that in a lot of towns, kind of the practice is that we have the job description and then we kind of don't look at it, touch it, do anything with it until the position turns over. Which again, if somebody comes and leaves within 5 or 6 years, okay. But when you've got a lot of people historically that come here and they work their entire career here in the same job, it's like you have a 30-year job description. I mean, I've pulled out some descriptions that have references to like microfiche and DOS systems, typewriters. It's crazy. So, but if you're doing kind of a regular review as part of your, HR management function, they should never get to a point where they're so out of date.
Right.
So, and I don't know, Kimberly, if you want to elaborate further.
I'll just say that we're in a beautiful position, having just done the salary study, that we've got a JAQ for every job practically. There may be one or two exceptions out of 170 some, but we've got a JAQ for nearly every single job. So to take a job description that's 5 to 10 years old and update it based on the JAQ is not that, I mean, it's challenging, but it's time consuming, but it's not that difficult, right? And so what we're trying to do now is start afresh with the salary plan implementation last year. We'd like to have a job description that's up to date for every position and set you all off on a proper path. To the extent that we add a job or adjust a job significantly where it changes grade or some such thing as that, I agree with the ladies that is something that you would definitely want to hear about and know about and approve. But other than that, items that are, just housekeeping, it's really up to the board to decide how you use your time.
It's a good word, housekeeping. I think that's a good way to differentiate I'm curious in terms of the job descriptions, is there a process in the town that at the time a position is going to be filled? Let's say is going to be, it's been there, the person is left or retired, whatever. But is the job description updated at that time in some kind of stipulated protocol way?
I mean, that's what I would do. I would take a look at it and say, when was it last updated? Is there anything that needs to be refreshed? Again, this is a weird time right now where kind of
Right.
all the
Right.
job descriptions being revamped, but it's always good just to take the change. Are we missing something? Was there some, new thing that's come along that we have to comply with that's not in the description now? And do we need to put that in there? So it's always good to look at it and make sure it's exactly what fills the role, the need, everything at that time, even if it might have been looked at, 5 years prior, just to make sure that, the more times you can have eyes on it, the more likely that it's going to stay fresh, current, and not stay along you.
Is there a procedure in which, a piece of paper in which the job is approved for recruiting purposes and signed off in some way, maybe by the town manager, by the finance person? Is there a track record here of being able to trace the progression or not?
Kimberly, do you have an answer to that? I know we've got the JAQs, which is job analysis question.
Yeah, I think the way I heard Bill's question is he's asking if there's either a paper trail or an electronic trail where each time we post a job, financially it's approved. And the answer to that, technology wise or paper trail wise, is no. However, we know what is approved within our budgets. So as an example, if someone retires today and the position is approved in the budget, there's no question about replacing it, right? And there is a trail where each time we post the job, of course, the manager is going to look at the posting before it's put up and think about, these job descriptions are very general, right? And depending on the makeup of your team, you may want to highlight pieces of the job at different times in its life cycle. It may become more important to have, the third bullet be the highlighted portion that we're driving for versus the first or second bullet. And so we're seeing some of that right now with the makeup of our teams. In our planning area, we have a planning person that leaves. Well, there's a lot going on in planning. So, what do we want to highlight? What type of planner are we looking for at this particular juncture? The same thing with an engineer that we just are looking to fill. So we have the flexibility with these, fairly open job descriptions to highlight certain specific needs or requirements.
I guess I'm coming from my frame of reference in private industry, in which we had a requisition log, and the requisition log contained what were we approved jobs with an approved revised job description.
Mm-hmm.
The signature from the CEO that this was a job that was approved, and then we had a place at the bottom of when was this position filled?
Yeah.
How was it filled? And any other relevant data that we didn't have a real sophisticated electronic system, but
yeah,
it seems like there's some value to that, but
well,
maybe not in this.
Well, there is the requisition now that goes through Cornerstone. Again, people kind of know they can't just willy-nilly put it, like it had to be a vacancy if they're putting requisitions. And then Magnolia's got her spreadsheet, which I don't know if I actually shared that with this group or not, Kimberly, but she started to do some kind of tracking in terms of like this job's vacant or posting. She's got some spreadsheets she started to try to get creative with. And then hopefully once we're in our new systems of Munis and everything, on January 1st, we'll be able to do a lot more concise reporting, because all of that will be tied directly into the budget as well. So it'll be one system, the budget, all the recruitment stuff, it's gonna be all one-stop shopping, whereas right now we're working off of 3 different systems. So it's,
Oh, wow.
some of these things you could pull, it just might take a long time to do it, but you gotta pull some here, and then mash them up, so.
Yeah.
It sounds like
The beauty of what Bill's talking about here is the position control module within an ERP system that links the budget and all the positions that are approved with what is filled versus what needs to still be recruited for. And so you have articulated exactly what the town is after.
Position control.
It
those two
didn't
matches
cost the
are-
town any.
Just
Okay.
blood, sweat and tears maybe, but.
All right, any other questions or comments regarding our discussion on how the personnel board fits into this process?
No, well, no, I'm good. I just, I don't know that do we have a decision as to whether, what should come? I heard that new positions, maybe something that's being reclassified as substantially changed, but housekeeping wouldn't necessarily come for a vote. Is that?
That's sort of what I heard.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we just need to ensure that both Josh and Liz are, because the minutes can reflect.
Yeah, I would align with that. That makes sense to me. If it's
Okay.
housekeeping, I don't think we need to
Okay.
find Brandon, look at.
I don't think we necessarily have to define housekeeping, but if there's a concern about that, then we could easily do that, or the minute taker and do that. Liz, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Two things. So just the last comments that you had, Jess, where you're describing how the system should work and it's integrated. I wonder if that would change the role that we would play too, because that seems like you could easily oversee and understand the alignment across the payment, the benefits, and the role. And any shifts of that should be, sort of systemic that we could look at, right? So you see that within the system, and it's not so cumbersome as one by one and minor updates. Because I do agree with all of you. I think we're all in alignment, that each one is, as Kate, you described it originally, it's already approved through the CNC plan, and now we're just aligning with that CNC plan. But Josh, the second thing I wanted to ask is, Josh, I couldn't hear your comments. And everybody was nodding, and I wanted to be nodding, and I just couldn't hear it.
My comment just now, just saying
Yeah.
Indicate I would align on that idea. If it's kind of at the housekeeping level, I would agree that board doesn't.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay.
Do we still want to do the last batch? Roughly how many of the descriptions are left now, Kimberly, after types 32?
There's probably a good 40 or more remaining, another month like this month.
All right, so since we've come this far, do you guys want to do the last batch of 40 just to say you had eyes on every single one as part of this pay plan, and then we implement the new process? Or,
for consistency's sake,
the OCD and
Yeah,
you
we
feels
might
like you
as
should.
well.
I also know it's a lot for you to look at, and a lot from poor Magnolia to put together, but it's like we've come this far, there's only 40 left.
I think it's also a recognition that
We're thorough with.
that the personnel board has, obviously with the help and the input from the personnel study task force and others, job descriptions were out of date for a long time. So we, as a personnel board, said, this is something that's important to do. The town, and Kimberly and Jess and Magnolia said, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. So I think we should finish it up, and that will be a nice way to tie off.
Yeah, that way you can truthfully say you've had eyes on every job description that's part of a brand new plan.
Exactly.
So,
So given that, how many in total? Because that probably is something I should indicate at the town meeting, right? As not maybe on a slide, but speak to that and just say, this is the kind of work, and Mark, that kind of gets us to your point where they're not on the consent, so that roll along from 4, 5, and then 6 makes sense. And, we won't have those last 40 or so by town meeting, which is fine. but just having that what's the denominator there would be great.
I can give you a count.
Okay, thanks.
Okay,
All right, that's good. So I feel like that's.
all right, so I think we've taken care of 6 and 7. Unless anyone else has any comments, thoughts? Okay, so we move on to agenda item 8, discussion of the personnel board charge and timeline. You know, this has been a pretty consistent one for us to say we need to wait for the approval of the new personnel bylaw. And then once that is done, we can, you know, start to refine what we have. There was included in the packet I saw, the latest sort of version.
Page 102.
Okay, thank you, page 102. And that, you know, for everyone's benefit, that is the product of several meetings and discussions. So doesn't mean we can't have more refinements and so forth, but I think once we have the approval, then I think we can, within a relatively short period of time, finish up the personnel charge and present it to the select board, because they're the ones who have to approve. Any
So
thoughts?
I just was skimming it and I realized that we really did align the draft and how it's organized around our assessment of the task force report. And I was recollecting that, but if you look down at it, we have duties and responsibilities, and then communication, governance, human resource, employee relations as the charge. I like it still. I just wanted to point that out, that we really did align around how the task force, how we had analyzed what the task force had proposed.
Right, but thank you for reiterating that. I think maybe for Josh's benefit, my thoughts on this particular document, the charge, is that we need to have something that a town citizen can go to and say, oh, this is what the personnel board does. And it's a communication opportunity and it's a communication tool. That's sort of how I've thought about it, which means that there is perhaps some informality associated with the text and so forth or not. I don't know. It's just, but it just to give you, Josh, a sense of where I was coming from to incorporate into this. I just wanted to have that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate understanding the background. And so the new personnel board charge aligns with the new personnel bylaw and kind of defines the duties and responsibilities of this board. And
Yes, sure. I mean, so when we worked on the bylaw, we used this as a guide. We used the existing bylaw and sort of structured the new draft bylaw based on the existing, but we tried to incorporate a lot of what we had in our charge, but in a more broader language. So because the bylaw, you don't want it to be too specific.
of course,
So this is where we kind of, that's my understanding, where we kind of put the meat of what's in the bylaw in practice.
yeah. And this is, yeah, I appreciate understanding the idea that it's a communication tool.
Yeah.
As what?
More than anything else almost.
Well, maybe, yeah, that's a good point. Okay,
And the other technical difference, Josh, is that the charge is under the select board and can be changed in coordination with the select board, whereas the bylaw has to go to town meeting.
Mark, you're recognized there? And you're muted.
Sorry, I was also switching screens around a little bit. I appreciate the discussion, and what I wanted to do is point out a couple of things. The personnel board, because it's statutory in the sense that it comes from the town charter, is a little different than the typical charges that the select board does. So I've made this point before, but I think it's at a time when we can really use it. Typically, a charge from the select board, like for example, at the moment we're involved in setting up the MBTA advisory board. We're creating a committee out of, essentially instantiating it out of nothing. And so our charges tend to be, tend to incorporate the goals, the background, the duration, the duties, and the membership, and any other considerations, which is usually, what town policies might be applied or might for some reason be exempted for a particular board. For the most common one is APP 10, which is whether or not somebody can serve on that board at the same time that they're serving on some other board. So the point being that because there's a bylaw because the personnel board is created and exists because of the town charter, and there's a bylaw that dictates a lot of those basic things like the membership and so forth. This particular charge is more of an agreement between the personnel board and the select board, which are both statutory boards, about what they'll talk about, how they might interact with each other and a set of expectations. So my encouragement here is we should try to avoid we should reference the bylaw and the charter in the charge, just to say, if you're looking for those things that are normally here about membership and stuff like that, don't look here, because that's not where it is. It's created someplace else. And then incorporate, and that I would put in, say, the background section, which is basically what I just said. And then instead, under duties or in, under other considerations, suggest what we are going to do. For example, one of the things that I like is on an annual basis, we'll have some kind of communication between the boards about the status of personnel matters and HR management in the town, because the select board really delegates all of that, to the personnel board. We don't deal with that at all, but we want to be aware of it, because our roles as the evaluators of, for example, the town manager and the town manager's team, we need somebody to tell us how's that going, and we're looking to you for that. So
Mark, should we have something that specifically states that we have a duty to once or twice a year give a report, even if we don't present because your calendar's full? That we
right,
need to
and
give you a
some of
report?
those reports are done in a written way, and that's really common to put in a charge that, and it should be what you think we need to know as much as what we think we want to know. Because again, this board was created, in a way that's not just doing something that the select board thinks needs to be done, but it's something that the creators of the town charter and the town meeting through its bylaw have said, these are the things we want the personnel board to be doing. So we just need to think about how that's coordinated in this document.
And it isn't right now. If you go to the end of page 2, in support of overall town governance, this is the communication section. Town citizens and town employees, the personnel board will be responsible for regular communications with each stakeholder group, but those stakeholder groups are overall town governance, town citizens, town employees. We don't specifically say anything about our interaction with select board there.
Yeah.
So that would need to be updated.
I would agree with that. And, what I was going to say by way of sort of being helpful or suggestions is, when you think this contains the things that make sense from a personnel board perspective, I'm happy to circulate this or have this circulated through the select board for input from the board around what they think, because this is not just me, but other select board members, some of whom have worked with the personnel board and have relevant experience, may also have suggestions about what they would like to see going on in this relationship. And so we can work on a pass of this charge that is, and I think of this charge as one that is essentially jointly adopted. The personnel board adopts it. as their charge, and the select board adopts it as the charge for the personnel board, so that it's more of almost a memorandum of understanding than a charge in the typical sense.
Okay, very helpful. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
So that takes care of one of the sections. Should we, Bill, go through each section and sort of see if there's things missing like that? Or I really think that's a full redirection of what we put in communication. But it may well be that we have the wrong slant in others too. How do you want to go through it, Bill?
So let me make certain. You're suggesting to take the existing draft that's included and to go through each section?
Yeah, I mean, just see if there's anything like that big to unearth in the other sections. The mission statement says
Yeah,
goal is condensed above to one sentence. I'm not sure that maybe I guess what's following that is supposed to be that very long one sentence. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we have to wordsmith, but maybe if there's, directional things that aren't included, we should probably flag. What do you guys agree with that? Do you want to do that now, or?
I think, well, we have a choice of doing it or starting it now in a group kind of fashion, or like we've done a few things before, is that each individual does his or her own draft, and then we send that into Jess, and then for sort of combining it. I don't know if there's one approach that's better or not. I don't know if I'd be happy to take your thoughts about which approach we should follow.
Well,
I'd like to hear how Josh would go about this as a new person on the committee. How it seems like I would have trouble, I think, understanding the history and the process of getting to the charges it is now. But maybe you've handled these things before, and I'm just the new.
No, I mean, I personally think I would add more value with a time to review and like comment.
Okay.
Although I certainly would be informed by all of your comments. I mean, absolutely, my best review would occur with an understanding of your thinking, but I do think, I mean, and this is more of my own process maybe, is I would probably have some comments and edits that I would be able to integrate and share. Although I'm happy to discuss, certainly, if that's consensus. I really have not, although I did read it, I did not prepare, as certain areas that jump out at me that I'd be curious to know more about, but I do think, that's what I might work best, but I'm.
Okay, well, that's why we're talking.
well, I was wondering if maybe we should wait and see the outcome of town meeting with the new bylaw, and then once we have that, I mean, assuming it's approved, hoping it's approved, then we take a fresh look at this. We could do it now, or we could do it out. Town meeting's only a few weeks away, so we're almost there.
We are almost there, and honestly, since I've had, I've had the opportunity at the hearing and other things, I'm pretty confident that we've done a real good job with that bylaw, and that it's going to go forward. So, the trend with the handbook, I mean, the link there is more, it's closer with the handbook than it is to me with the charge, right? And that was the kind of question that came up. Are you sure the handbook is going to cover, there won't be any gaps and all that kind of thing? And then some finance questions. So the charge was not lingering in the background of those discussions. So yeah, and that's kind of what we wanted too, right? Was that the bylaw was a standalone and that the charge was more, I'm a little bit confused. I fully understand and agree, Mark, with what you said, but I guess I had been thinking that the charge would kind of sit at the beginning of the handbook. And so employees would kind of understand our role and inside the handbook. But really the role that we need to describe, and maybe it's both, but is our relationship with the select board, right? And then how that relates, so
Yeah,
maybe those are the kinds of questions we should talk about here tonight, just that, not, the sections.
I think that's one of the roles. I think the charge also serves, thinking about Josh, I appreciate your question to him. I would, in my perfect world, if, while I was having that initial conversation with Josh about, would he enjoy serving on this board, I'd love to be able to say to him, if you read the bylaw and the charge, you'll have a really good idea of what you're going to be doing and what service you're going to be performing on behalf of the community in the governance of the, the personnel systems that we're very proud of as the town of Concord. So I think that you should be able to pick up these two documents and kind of understand what the reason for the existence and what the value is that the personnel board provides in this system, which is designed to create some accountability, some opportunity for for strategic thinking, and really high quality personnel administration. So, when you're reading the handbook, you should get everything you ever wanted to know about high quality personnel administration, because that's what employees care about when they choose to work for us. But I think the charge, directionally says, what's the personnel board working on that's helping us as a community be the employer that we want to be, approaching the marketplace of talent in the kinds of ways that make sense to do that. That's my 2 cents, but that's what I'd be going for.
Mark, is there any other entity, board, so forth, that has close to this type of memorandum of understanding concept?
Yes.
And
So some of the boards, for example, the historical commission, the planning board, these boards are dealing with state laws that have to do, even the Natural Resources Commission, they're dealing with state law that has to do with particular domains of expertise, mostly, land use in the one case, and so they have a relationship with that topic area that's well outside the purview of the select board, but they have their controlling documents, don't say the same sorts of things that, a task force that we set up to advise us about whether or not we should buy solar panels and where we should put them does. So the personnel board is more in that class.
more in the class of the historical commission planning.
Yeah, or the or the Natural Resources Commission. If you think about it, they're charged with protecting the natural resources that we have inside the community, and there's a whole raft of state and federal laws and town bylaws that interact with the applications that come before them, and so they process those things and do that. And there's so it's people that join that. Even the Board of Health has got those kinds of things.
That's really helpful, Mark. The source of those documents, Jess, are they, or Kimberly or Mark, where would those, aren't they contained in some archive someplace?
Yes, there is on the town website, there's I think it's on the committee, the page about all boards and committees. I'm just checking, but there's a way of looking at all the, board and committee charges. If you go to the town website, the boards-committees page, and then click on the link on the side that's boards and committee charges, you can download a document that has the charge of every committee. And you'll notice that some of them are quite different than others.
Well,
That's good to know, because I was
Yeah.
literally clicking on each committee's page as you were
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah, Shannon is, you know, credit Shannon for this. She works hard on this.
309 pages of charges.
Yeah, here's a pro tip. Open the table of contents view in the PDF.
Yeah.
So
You can
you
see
can,
each one
you can,
separately and
each one, then you can
alphabetical.
jump to whichever one you're really interested in at any given moment.
So this is where I think we should go and how we should approach this. So I'll give my recommendation and then we can comment. I think that what we have as the latest version of the charge probably needs to be all redone. It needs to have more of the kind of memorandum of understanding concept than this particular draft has. I think we now have an idea where we can go to see what other groups have done. So I think we should do a total, not that what we've already done is not going to be meaningful and useful, but I think conceptually, we're talking about a different document. So I'm open to thoughts, comments as to we need to do a total refresh on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we did is we, excuse me, in this draft was we really focused more on the task force and responding there than we did on other charges. And this discussion, I think, has been very helpful. If you do look where Mark has directed us, the table of contents, when you pull that up on the side, it says Personnel Board charge adopted June 24, 1985. And Planning Board adopted 12/06, 1982. So I don't know, Mark, if that's the last Planning Board one or.
Yeah, it's possible. One that I happened to cross just now is the Community Preservation Committee, which
Okay.
was a little bit more modern because the Community Preservation Act, which was enabled by the state, was adopted in 2005 or 4 town meetings, something like that. And so then the committee was set up in accordance with the Mass General Laws, Chapter 44B, that allows you to do this. And so that's a little bit more of the, to me, my eye anyway, a little bit more of the flavor of what the Personnel Board is. It's enacted because the town has adopted a personnel bylaw. It's in the charter, and then way down at the end, you start to get into the charge of the board and how it's established. So you can definitely find examples. I would stay away from the ones that are super old or really, really completely bound by state law, because I don't think that that's as important, but it gives you a sense of how that is organized.
I'm not finding that one. You said Community Preservation?
Community Preservation Act, it starts at page 86. And the CPA bylaw amendment and CPC town bylaw and CPC charge. So in the table of contents, they abbreviate Community Preservation Committee.
I'm sorry, could you say the page again?
86
86, okay.
is the town bylaw. Or, yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, and then the charge doesn't start until page 90, but it's sort of, that's a little bit more modern version of kind of how something like this is put together.
Okay.
All right, so we're back to just is doing a total refresh, looking at some examples, and then preparing another draft.
Mhm.
Each of us individually for review at the next meeting. How do you trying to get an idea of timeline here? What you think makes sense from a process standpoint?
When is our next meeting? We should probably know this.
I think it's going to be
I'm just thinking about timing because,
Maybe the eighth, so it's the second.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
the 8th. So,
Maybe that's too soon.
yeah, that's what I was just wondering.
There's no
Yeah.
real rush to get this done by a particular date, so, I think it's nice to keep
Mhm.
working as we have.
Might be worth a discussion next time, once we've had a chance to look at some other charges. Kind of level set a little bit, and then maybe go off to the drafting.
That's an approach. We could also think of, I can remember back in school where you use the outline approach and you have a ones and twos, and so maybe just outline what the major categories should be, leaving out the detail in terms of the narrative. And that may be a way to move us to, oh, okay, so this is what we should be including.
Mhm.
Liz, how, you're good at.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. I do think that, looking at it again, looking at it with the materials that we just discussed, with the attitude that, we do some discussion at next meeting, but if we, get farther than, it probably will take 2 more meetings.
Yes.
And that sounds reasonable to me. Yeah, for me, whether we do it all next meeting or not, it seems like it would take more preparation to do it twice. But, it's also a very busy time of year and the town meeting's coming up and we could be thrown a curveball. So I'm not sure we can finish it anyway. Yeah, so outlining, as you guys talked about, I'm fine with that for next meeting.
Well, Josh, you're okay with
Yes.
that kind of concept here of,
Rough it out.
yeah, right. With
And
not,
I have it up on my computer. Do you want me to walk through where it is on the website so you see it, or do you think you got that?
The current one, you mean?
no,
To look at the other charges?
Oh, yeah, so, I don't know if I can let you screen share there. I can give you permission to share, otherwise I can pull it up here too, but. Let me see, I think if I make you host, Liz, then you can.
Yep.
Screen share.
Okay, yep. All right, so I'll walk us backwards, I guess, through it. Do you see that now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So this is, in fact, it's page 86. So I could put in the 86 up here. So if you want to write that down, that's where you'd get it. And then what I did was I started here and I went to government, right? And then it was boards and committees. And then it was board and committee charges here. Okay. And this is a silly thing, but for me, it's been super helpful for all things to have, like, I have one for my daughters. I do favorites and the town website is on that somewhere. There it is, right? So I come to this and I see boards and committees. And now we got the charges here. And then once you hit the charges, this compilation is what Mark said Shannon had put together. And then there's so many here. If you take up if you go here to this arrow, you can pull up the table of contents. And then you can go to all these things, but I couldn't find what Mark was saying. So I just put the number in there and it got me right to this page.
Sometimes I make that column a bit wider so that they all sort of show in one line. You can drag that sideways.
Well, more knowledgeable people than I can do that, Mark.
That was helpful though. I track you, I'll get there.
I actually.
Yeah, but yeah, and there is a search function too, but I don't use Chrome. I use
Shannon.
but I try and
Yeah.
land on that bar right. Yeah, there you go.
Right where
Right between where the white turns to gray. I think you can use
is it?
it.
Okay, I'll try one more time, but
Oh, I guess it doesn't do it.
yeah, maybe it just doesn't.
My viewer lets me do that. But yeah, that's the most helpful way to look at it, and
Yeah.
you could kind of go down through there one by one and find them.
Liz,
Yeah.
thank you. That's, I think that'll help us all to navigate.
Okay,
Suggest you give the host back to Human Resources at Concord.
That's all good, as long as you can bounce any bombers, Liz. We're
I
not on TV, so they don't seem to be interested in us.
Yeah,
I just put it to multiple participants can share, so it's back to you, really.
Okay, so we're in agreement that at the next personnel board meeting, we will have our thoughts on sort of an outline-ish top level of each of this. And that would be, if it's possible, get it to Jess so she might be able to incorporate our various inputs. Okay, any other business to come before the personnel board then? There's nothing on the agenda. I wonder, and I don't know if we have any public comment, which if there's anyone interested in commenting. Does not appear to be. So
I'll just note for the record that I'm sending Joe a link to what we just discussed with the charges and letting him know we have a little bit of homework to check things over. Okay.
Thank you. I haven't thought of it, so thank you. Okay, I think we're about ready to adjourn, but again, I want to thank Jess and Kimberly and Magnolia for getting us prepared for tonight's meeting and very helpful, and we couldn't do it without you guys, so thank you. So-
Thanks a lot.
So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right,
Second,
okay, so all in favor, Liz Cobbs?
Bye.
Yes.
yes.
And Bill Marachek, yes. Okay, thank you all very
Good night,
much.
everyone.
Night.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody. Good to
You got
see
it.
you.